This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Pauline, and today we have some kind of distressing news, if you're a Cavs fan, to discuss, as well as just basketball in general, to give you guys an update on what's been going on in the NBA, and of course a little bit of college basketball as well, now that it is officially championship week, as well as officially now we are going to see by the end of this week, with Selection Sunday being the Sunday coming up, where everybody's going to fall into place for the big NCAA tournament. So we're definitely going to jump into a little bit of college basketball as well as some good news for the Raiders later on in the episode. So we have some basketball, some football, and some other things around the world of sports to discuss today. I am I'm feeling a lot better. Ben was in yesterday to do the shows by himself just because I wasn't feeling good. It's been one of those things where just with the weather, and some days it's really sunny outside, but it's still very cold, and just I don't know, it just hit me over the weekend. So that was definitely something that I needed some time to get over. But anyway, so let's start off with the NBA, and let's just jump into the scores from last night. So we had the Milwaukee Bucks face off against the 76ers. They defeated them 112-98. The New York Knicks went to go visit the Orlando Magic and defeated the Magic on the road 113-105. A nice solid win for the Knicks over there. The Miami Heat defeated the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road as well. So it was really, so far, last night was a good night for road teams. Anyways, so the Heat defeated the Cavaliers 106-98, and we are going to get into the most dramatic part of the game later on in the episode, the very first minute of the game, not even minute, technically. Then we had the Golden State Warriors take on the Atlanta Hawks, defeating them 119-111. So great game for the Warriors, another win. They are 26-8 on the road. The Chicago Bulls lost to the Pistons in Detroit 95-109. They had a big fourth quarter. The Pistons did. They outscored the Bulls 30-16. So that definitely boosted their squad for that win against the Chicago Bulls last night. The Brooklyn Nets defeated the Memphis Grizzlies 122-109. They also had a really solid fourth quarter, which secured that win for them. They outscored the Grizzlies 34-18. The Trailblazers and the Timberwolves, if you guys were looking for that game, it did get postponed due to condensation on the court. So even though we are an indoor sport, sometimes it just happens. You could still get affected by things like that. You would think that since it's more of a controlled arena versus, being outside in the snow if you're playing football or, other things that can affect outdoor sports. Every once in a while, it does happen. So the Trailblazers and Timberwolves were postponed last night. Anyway, so the Indiana Pacers lost to the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte 88-100 last night. And the Rockets lost to the Spurs 110-112. So a solid, 2 points is all that it takes to secure that win for the Spurs. They had a great game. Kawhi Leonard especially had a night for himself. He had 39 points and really had a strong fourth quarter to boost his team for that win. And also that night, he was not available for the media afterwards because he had a random drug test. So the NBA does 4 random drug tests during the season and 2 during off season. And it just so happened that he was randomly selected for his drug test last night and had to take care of that. And because of what all it entails and everything like that for him, he wasn't available to the media to discuss how great of a game he was having. The Sacramento Kings lost to the Denver Nuggets last night, 96-108. Tough loss, another tough loss for my Kings. Just for my Kings losing to the Denver Nuggets last night. The Pelicans also lost to the Utah Jazz 83-88 last night. And then to wrap up the night of games, the Clippers defeated the Celtics in LA 116-102 after having a really solid second half, scoring 41 points in just the fourth quarter alone. The Clippers were able to secure that win against Boston. So a very, very good game for them. It was a night of fun as far as basketball is concerned. Tonight, we are looking at a couple of games as well. In the NBA, we have the matchup between the Trailblazers and the Thunder. So that's, rescheduled to today. Then we have the LA Lakers and the Mavericks facing off in Dallas. And then the last of the games today is going to be the Washington Wizards facing off against the Phoenix Suns in Arizona. So that is something to definitely look forward to tonight. And then I did want to jump into the biggest, I think, story of the evening, or it was definitely a shocker for everyone, whether I think you're a Cavaliers fan or not, or just if you've been following what's been happening over in Cleveland, just because they are trying to build up their team to make themselves the best contenders for the championship again, to hold that title again. So they've had the most shocking story of the evening, and that was, so we've been discussing just on this podcast alone as well and around the NBA world, them wanting to bring on Andrew Bogut. And we know that he was having some conversations with the Boston Celtics, the San Antonio Spurs, as well as the Houston Rockets, in addition to Cleveland. So he had quite a few options and places where he could go, and he did decide on Cleveland. So last night was basically his debut in Cleveland. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to tell you just how that debut went for him. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. I will be right back.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concepts sports podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. And so, right before the break, I was discussing mentioning the Cleveland Cavaliers and Andrew Bogut. So, Andrew Bogut is officially on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they are very, very excited to have him, of course, to have him as that big to step in behind Tristan Thompson. So, they were building up their arsenal for the playoffs and things like that, and to make that run again for another championship. Now, the problem is last night in the first 58 seconds of the game, Andrew Bogut broke his leg. So, and those of you who have been kind of keeping your ear to the NBA know that this is just his second game since January 29th of this year. So he hasn't been getting much PT. He's finally on his new squad. Everybody's excited to have him. He's excited to be there. He's ready to make, fall into place with everyone as he, as they're now, the pieces are starting to fit together. So we're just trying to find that cohesion, right? Well, he fractured his tibia last night. So basically, a quick recap for what happened is he ran out from the paint, from the inside to the outside perimeter to try to close out on Akaro White of the Miami Heat. And basically what happened is his shin collided with White's left knee. So his shin into his knee basically fractured his tibia. So that was a very hard impact. To break somebody's tibia is just incredible to me. When you break any of your fracture or whatever, any of your leg bones, just to me, it's just amazing because of how strong that they are. But anyway, so he fractured his tibia, and the problem with this is that typically the recovery time is, how you base it, you're going to sit out. Typically, it's like 6 to 8 weeks for certain injuries, or, 10 to 12 weeks recovery time after surgery, things like that. No. These kinds of injuries are counted, they're measured in months, not weeks, in months. So, this could potentially be it as of right now for Andrew Bogut. So it's going to be, it's a very scary thing. And you guys know that my feelings always go out for guys who suffer injuries like this, especially like season ending injuries. And, he was excited. I was excited for him to be with the Cleveland Cavaliers because I wanted to see how that was going to work out for them with this whole build a team that they were constructing over there. And it's really sad. So he's definitely going to have an MRI to kind of figure out where the severity and all of that. So, and LeBron James, he did, and I quote this, he said, "It's very deflating. It's a tough moment. We all were excited about the acquisition, bringing him in here, him getting some games under his belt before the playoffs. So hopefully we can hope for the best with the MRI or whatever the case may be. But it's a tough one, not only obviously for him, first of all, but then for our ball club." So it is very disappointing for everyone on their team, and especially because, like I said, they were doing kind of like this build a team situation. They so far so good with, adding in some additional players and bringing Andrew Bogut in. So it's going to be interesting because, what's basically going to have to happen is he's out. Bogut is out. So he's also going to need his own replacement now for the replacement is basically what is going to be the case with this one. So it's very, very sad. It's a very sad situation. I'm sure he is very upset, but hopefully, they have great doctors. He can definitely, I don't think it's going to be a career ender. Definitely not just one of those things where it's a season, it's going to be a wrap for the season this year. So that was probably the biggest news of basketball in the NBA last night, is that season-ending loss, or season-ending injury, for Andrew Bogut. So we're going to just shift gears real quickly into college basketball, because of course I want to touch on college basketball before getting into football, just because it is March Madness. So just a quick update starting from Sunday on some scores that happened throughout college basketball. Number 16 Purdue faced off against Northwestern, defeated them on the road 69-65. Purdue is now 14-4 in conference play. Cincinnati is ranked number 18. They faced off against UConn, defeated UConn by 20 points, 67-47. Cincinnati is now 16-2 in American Conference play. Wichita State defeated Illinois for their tournament final. They defeated Illinois State 71-51 to secure their bid in the NCAA tournament. So exciting. Wichita State punching their ticket for that exciting moment. Then we had Minnesota, going to face off against number 22 Wisconsin, lost to Wisconsin 49-66. Then looking ahead to the games from last night. So Santa Clara lost to Gonzaga, number 4 Gonzaga, 68-77 in the West Coast Conference semifinal last night. And then we had BYU and number 19 St. Mary's. St. Mary's gave BYU that work, defeated them 81-50 in that semifinal. So it is looking like it is going to be St. Mary's and Gonzaga, and they will be playing tonight for that championship title in Las Vegas. So number 19 St. Mary's taking on number 4 Gonzaga tonight with that. And then, so that is going to be the wrap up for tonight. Will be the wrap up for the West Coast Conference, and we will see who will get their bid from that win tonight. So definitely going to be fun. And this is probably this is, I don't know, I just love championship week as well, because this is kind of where these teams are throwing it on the line and giving it their all as they are looking for those automatic bids to the NCAA tournament. This week is a lot of fun. Championship games already this early Tuesday, so it's early in the week, so we have nothing but championship games to look forward to. A lot of teams, the conferences naming their all team selections, player of the years, coaches of the years, defensive players of the year. So it's a lot of fun. This week is exciting if you are a lover of college basketball. So with that, I am going to take my last break of the episode, and then when I come back, we have some great news for the Raiders, as well as some other football and some golf news to get into if we have time. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. I will be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back, everyone, to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. So we are getting ready to wrap up this episode, but I wanted to wrap it up on some good news. So if you are a Raiders fan, worry not, you guys are no longer homeless, sort of, kind of, sort of. So they have officially secured a commitment, a partnership. I was going to say partnership, but anyway, so they are receiving, so the Oakland Raiders have received a commitment from the Bank of America to finance their proposed, this is a proposal cost and proposed stadium of their proposed $1.9 billion, 65,000 seat domed stadium in Las Vegas. So it is official and it's been confirmed that this is what is going to, like, this is the new partnership. And if you remember, I had spoke about this a couple of episodes ago when they had lost some backing and some money when Sheldon Adelson withdrew his $650 million pledge back in January. So that definitely was a glitch in their plans, and they were worried about that, I'm sure. But definitely, new hope has arose for the Oakland Raiders with that financial commitment from the Bank of America. And so it's going to be interesting. So because they still have to have this kind of proposed relocation, this formal relocation to be approved. So they've applied for it. They need to have, when they had the NFL owners meeting in March, late March, the 26th through the 29th, they need at least a minimum of 24 of the 32 owners to approve of the move. So they're just, getting things in order to hopefully have that vote go in their favor. And so it's going to be quite interesting. And for those of us that are kind of questioning or interested into where this new stadium will be located. So they are looking at basically a 62-acre piece of land on Russell Road, west of Interstate 15 and the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino at the south end of Las Vegas. So that's kind of their preferred location. So if you're familiar with Vegas, then I'm sure you know exactly where I'm talking about. If you are not too familiar with Vegas, then I guess we will be surprised when it gets constructed, when we see it, if you ever go to Vegas. So anyway, so the stadium is, however, not projected to be completed until about 2020, so another 3 years. And so the Raiders owner, Mark Davis, he did tell ESPN that for this fall, he is planning on staying in Oakland the next 2 seasons, even if the move is approved, just because they don't have a home, like an actual structure, until probably 2020. So they're still on lease with the Oakland Coliseum, and they're going to be sharing the new stadium once it's all done. If everything goes according to Mark Davis and his squad's plan, they will be sharing that new stadium in Vegas with UNLV. So that'll be really cool if you are a UNLV fan or player. That'll be a lot of fun to kind of play in a stadium that also houses a NFL team. I just think that that's a pretty cool thing. But the Raiders, they like sharing. They definitely like sharing. So anyways, some other great news in case you guys were wondering is Julio Jones of the Atlanta Falcons. He's a wide receiver for them. So he had bunion surgery on Monday. So yesterday, and he posted a picture on Instagram, of course, because where else would he post it and where else would we find this news? But his surgery was a success. He is cheesing in his picture. He looking good, and he's suffered other fractures in his foot as well. So he went to the same surgeon who did that and took care of his most recent ailment. And now he's going to have about 4 to 5 month recovery time And this is according from some reports from his team. But he is looking to be ready to go for training camp in July. So never fear. It will be, hopefully if things go according to plan, then training camp is when we will see him back in action. So, and the reason why, if you guys are thinking what's the big deal about this, this was actually the cause of why he missed 2 games in the 2016 season. So, and he was also limited, they were saying, during practices during the regular season, and very cautious with him in postseason play because of how much pain and agony that this was causing him. And I've had foot surgery as well. I've had foot surgery on both my feet. And, when you have certain ailments that plague your feet, it really does affect everything else. And especially for an athlete of his caliber, it definitely can get him out of commission. So I know that they are excited for that healing process to, finish up so that he can definitely come back stronger, faster, I'm sure, running lighter on his feet without having to deal with that pain before, after, and during games and practices. So anyway, like I said, I wanted to wrap it all up on good news. So now shifting gears a little bit, I want to get into a little bit of golf. So like I said, I wanted to wrap it up all on high notes. So I don't think you can get any higher than this, than being number 1. So Dustin Johnson, Dustin Johnson in Mexico City. So he wins in Mexico as his debut as the number 1 player in the world. So securing his number 1 key spot at the Mexico Championship. So this was his first start since a 5-shot victory at Riviera, which is what pushed him to the number 1 spot in the world. So he's the number 1 golfer in the world at this time. He did capture his 4th World Golf Championship title this Sunday, and he secured it by delivering at the end, a 1-shot victory over Tommy Fleetwood of England to secure that win and to secure his number 1 spot. So it's exciting for him. He closed with 3 under 68 and finished off with one of the most difficult shots in golf. So exciting for him. There's nothing better than being named number 1 and then having a really good performance like this to say, hey, I do deserve to be here, and that it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't any luck or anything like that. Like, I am the man right now. So this was his 5th win in his past 15 starts on the PGA Tour, which includes a major and 2 World Golf Championship titles. So good for you, Dustin. Hopefully it keeps on rolling for him, I'm sure, but he's going to have a really happy week. And I mean, if it was me, I would, even though this happened on Sunday, I'd still be very elated. So that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Pauline. You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Ben will be back in tomorrow, and then myself and Anthony on Thursday morning. So have a great morning, and I will talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.